You ever stand in your own living room and feel like a guest? That was me, about 3 Thursdays ago. Same couch I hauled up 3 flights of stairs by myself. Same rug I vacuumed weekly while humming Springsteen. Same woman sitting across from me, my wife, Amanda, except she looked different now. Not physically. No, she still had the same sharp jawline and that effortless, passive-aggressive elegance that could make a compliment sound like an insult. It was something behind the eyes. That smug light of someone who'd done something terrible but convinced themselves it was spiritual. She was calling it a learning detour. Her affair, I mean. That's what she named it. Like she took the wrong off-ramp on the freeway and wound up in another man's bed by accident. She said it had reframed her understanding of emotional fulfillment. She said it had given her clarity. Funny thing about clarity, it always seems to come after they've burned your house down and walked away with the lighter. Anyway, she wanted to talk. Sat me down with a cup of herbal tea I didn't ask for and handed me a printed document titled 15 Rules to Save Our Marriage. Times New Roman. Double-spaced. Stapled. She had actually stapled it. Now, I'd like to tell you I tore it up. Laughed in her face. Something cinematic. But no, I read it. Rule number 1. No raising your voice, even when I'm wrong. Okay. Rule number 2. All major purchases must be pre-approved by me. This includes tools, electronics, and any meat over $15. Right. Meat now has a budget cap. Rule number 3. You will attend weekly empathy training via Zoom. Cameras on. Notes expected. I don't even know what that means. Rule number 4. You must journal daily about how I make you feel. These will be reviewed together on Sundays. Supervised journaling. Very therapeutic. Rule number 5. I may travel solo once a month to reconnect with myself. You may not question these trips. And there it was, the open door to another round of learning. Rule number 6. You will sleep in the guest room until I feel emotionally safe. That room still smells like cardboard and Christmas lights. Rule number 7. You may not use sarcasm. It creates energetic dissonance. This one actually made me laugh. Quietly. Inwardly. The irony was so loud it echoed. Rule number 8. All social media posts require mutual approval. She means hers don't. Rule number 9. No guilt tripping about the past. Healing means moving forward. A clean slate. For her. Rule number 10. From now on, your friends must be vetted. Some of them radiate misogyny. Translation. They remember what she did. Rule number 11. All holidays will be restructured to prioritize my spiritual recovery. Guess we're doing Thanksgiving at a crystal retreat. Rule number 12. You will read one book per month from the list I provide and be prepared to discuss it. Book club, mandatory. Rule number 13. You must apologize every time you say, I don't know what you want from me. It's a phrase, not a war crime. Rule number 14. Intimacy will be suspended until further notice. Physical touch must be pre-negotiated. Of course it is. And finally, rule number 15. You are not allowed to say fine. It's emotionally dismissive. I looked at her. She sat there like a judge at a talent show, waiting to see if I'd flinch. I folded the paper once. Then again, slipped it into my back pocket. Noted, I said. If you'd been watching me from the outside, you might have thought I'd gone soft in the head. The way I nodded, took notes during our Sunday reflections, adjusted the thermostat based on her lunar cycle calendar, and highlighted whole paragraphs in the masculine heart. Unlearning toxic frameworks. But I wasn't losing it. I was taking inventory. Rule by rule. Rule number 1. No raising your voice, even when she's wrong. I've learned to master the quiet nod. She said the Wi-Fi was slower when I was home. I nodded. She told the barista her husband was retraining his nervous system through obedience. I nodded. Rule number 2. Pre-approved purchases. My wrench set was denied. Too masculine. She greenlit a $94 hand-woven lavender eye pillow for her recovery naps. The receipt sat on the fridge next to a post-it that read, Freedom isn't free. Your compliance is my healing. Rule number 3. Empathy training via Zoom. That was a weekly seance where a guy named River with a man bun and a cardigan told me my inner child was crying for reclamation. I nodded and wrote reclamation in all caps next to a doodle of a guillotine. Rule number 4. The journal. Every night, I wrote entries like, Today Amanda told me I was dismissive for sighing when she burned the quinoa. I apologized and thanked her for catching my microenergy lapse. She'd read them on Sundays like a therapist grading a lab rat. Rule number 5, solo trips. She went to Big Sur, Sedona, and one silent retreat where she managed to text me hourly. Said the silence was helping her hear the woman within. Rule number 6, guest room exile. I've developed a fondness for flannel sheets and the faint aroma of pine-scented dust. I set up a small desk, kept a paperback there. My fortress of solitude. Rule number 7, no sarcasm. At dinner, when she asked if I liked her new chakral alignment beads, I said they're very centered. She stared at me like a TSA agent about to confiscate my tongue. Rule number 8, joint social media curation. She posted a photo of us at brunch with the caption, "Healing through accountability." Hashtag conscious couple, hashtag radical transparency. I was holding a mimosa like a hostage note. Rule number 9, no guilt tripping. When she mentioned the affair and called it a courageous mistake, I nodded. Told her I admired her strength. I think that's when she started believing I was truly broken in. Rule number 10, friend vetting. She nicked Scott for saying bro, Drew got cut for suggesting Amanda might be kind of intense. I now drink beer in the garage with a 42-year-old air purifier named Greta. She doesn't talk back and never once questioned my tone. Rule number 11, holiday restructuring. Halloween was replaced with ancestral grief night. The kids weren't thrilled. Jason, 9, just wanted to be Spider-Man. Emma, 12, pulled me aside and whispered, "Is Mom okay?" I told her Mom was discovering herself. She replied, "Does it always take this long?" Rule number 12, monthly book club. Last month was Men Who Bake Their Trauma into Brownies. I made a batch of triple chocolate resentment squares. Rule number 13, I don't know what you want from me, now equals an automatic apology. I've learned to respond to confusion with compliments. Her, do you feel the disconnect in my solar plexus? Me, your awareness is breathtaking. Rule number 14, intimacy suspension. She keeps a whiteboard with columns labeled touch requests and emotional availability logs. I once got a green check mark for helping without seeking praise. Rule number 15, no saying fine. It's now replaced with, thank you for giving me the opportunity to engage more deeply. The kids know I'm not okay. Emma caught me saying, it's fine, under my breath while cleaning the litter box and gasped like I'd said Voldemort. Jason asked if I was sick. I told him I was practicing emotional endurance. He said, that sounds like CrossFit for sad people. I didn't argue. I just nodded. One rule at a time. The thing about playing along is eventually, they stop seeing you as a threat. Amanda was thriving. That's what she called it. Thriving. Said she was finally stepping into her divine feminine leadership, like she was applying for a throne no one else wanted. Her solo trips started stacking up. Santa Fe, a 4-day womb circle in Ojai. 1 week in Costa Rica to unlock suppressed lineage energy. She came home smelling like incense and citrus, and always just a little off. Different perfume. A necklace I hadn't seen before. Sometimes a tan line where her wedding ring used to be. She didn't even try to hide the phone anymore. Once, she left it on the coffee table while she showered. Lock screen lit up with a preview. Still thinking about last night. Your laugh is addicting. No name, just a heart emoji. I let the screen dim on its own. She returned to the room in a bathrobe, humming Fleetwood Mac, hair wet and loose like she was in a shampoo commercial. I didn't say a word. She stopped in front of me, eyes narrowed like she could sense the tension. Everything okay? I gave her the script she wrote for me. I appreciate your openness in this space. That earned me a smile. Not warm. Satisfied. Like a boss checking off a box. Later that week, I asked a question. One question. Simple. Are you seeing someone? She didn't even blink. Wow, she said. That's such an emotionally oppressive thing to ask. Oppressive. She said it like I was trying to vote away her rights, not inquire about the lipstick smudge on a wine glass that wasn't ours. You're trying to control my healing, she added. I told her I wasn't trying to control anything, just trying to understand what the rules actually were, since clearly fidelity wasn't one of them. Her response? She posted a quote on Instagram that night. When a woman finally loves herself enough to stop shrinking, the men around her will call it betrayal. Caption, not everyone's ready for your expansion. Expand anyway. The comments were full of fire emojis and women named Kendra and Shay saying things like, yes, queen, and your growth is sacred. Meanwhile, our daughter Emma watched her mom pack for another retreat and asked, Why does she need so many date night dresses for a meditation trip? I didn't answer. Just helped zip the suitcase. Jason, bless him, made a drawing that week in school. A stick figure with a suitcase and big sunglasses walking away from a house. He labeled it Mom Finding Stars. The figure behind her had a sad face and a trash can next to it labeled Rules. Kids are perceptive. I started noticing other things. A bottle of cologne I didn't wear tucked into the laundry basket. Uber charges to addresses across town. One of her bras, black lace, tags still on, left on the back seat of her car. She hadn't worn that kind in years. When I asked where she'd been one night, she said, exploring myself. You wouldn't understand. She was right. I didn't understand. Because I wasn't supposed to. That's the trick. Make the rules so blurry, the game only she can win. But I kept playing, kept writing in the journal, kept nodding, kept noticing. And Amanda? She was floating, high on the delusion that I was a broken man too scared to break back. But there's a difference between silence and surrender, and I was starting to sharpen mine like a blade. It was a Tuesday when I first visited the lawyer. Not the kind of man who advertises on park benches or radio jingles. His name was Leonard Shaw, mid-60s, lean and quiet, the kind of guy who probably keeps cash under his mattress and still uses a fountain pen. His office smelled like leather, dust, and silence. I'm not here to blow up my life, I said, hands folded neatly across the table. I just want to know what the ground looks like if it shifts. He didn't ask for gossip, didn't blink when I used words like emotional reorganization and unauthorized spiritual detours. He nodded, leaned back, and said, you want to protect yourself. Smart. Leonard gave me a list. A subtle one. Not catch her in the act. More like, document inconsistencies. Establish a record. Own the narrative. I started that night. While Amanda journaled about her tantric breakthroughs and streamed videos on goddess archetypes, I was in the guest room scanning cloud drives. Our shared Google account. She never logged out. There were deleted texts, sure, but not all of them. Wish I could have stayed the night. He's so clueless. Don't feel bad. He's like wallpaper. I love how free I feel when I'm not in that house. Wallpaper. I downloaded what I needed. Screenshots, timestamps, even her call history. The digital fingerprint of a woman so certain of her immunity, she didn't bother to hide her trail. Next came the finances. I opened a new account under my name only. Different bank. Quiet one. I set up a modest direct deposit. Just enough to look like a side hustle. Then, slowly, I began to reroute. Auto payments shifted. Business reimbursements redirected. Investments restructured. The joint account still looked alive. Enough movement to suggest normalcy. But the marrow? That was moving out of reach. Meanwhile, I bought a small voice recorder. Tucked it under the bookshelf in my home office, where she took calls, had FaceTime dates she thought I didn't notice. I never listened live. Just collected. Labeled the files like a librarian. NOV_21_ emotional alchemy. Deck_3_ lake house confession. Jan_14_ I want to be yours tonight. There's something about hearing your wife whisper promises to someone else in your own home that erodes the bone beneath your skin. But I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I cataloged. And then, location history. She never turned off tracking. Her phone pinged from hotels, loft apartments, yoga studios that didn't exist. I took screenshots, cross-referenced, created a spreadsheet with coordinates, dates, and mileage. She said she was at a cacao ceremony. She was 2 blocks from a rooftop bar with her soul mirror. She said she was volunteering at a women's shelter. Funny, because her car sat idle in front of a high-rise for 3 hours. It wasn't about catching her anymore. That part was done. It was about building something airtight. Amanda had her new rules, her affirmations, her curated life of empowerment and organic betrayal. But I had something else. Leverage. I didn't speak of it. Didn't hint. Not once. But every time she smiled with that airy, condescending smugness. Every time she tossed me another emotional labor exercise, or scolded me for sighing near her dream journal, I smiled back, because I'd already set the trap, and springing it. That would only take one rule. It was a Sunday morning. The sun was coming through the blinds at just the right angle to make everything look clean. Peaceful even. Amanda sat across from me at the breakfast table, sipping her mushroom coffee and scribbling affirmations into her leather-bound journal like she was rewriting the Bible. I stirred my tea, took my time, waited for the right moment. Then I set the mug down and said, I've been thinking about your rules. She didn't look up. I've decided I'm adding one of my own. That got her attention. Eyes lifted. Not fear, curiosity, the smug kind. Like watching a toddler try to lecture a professor. From now on, I said, voice even, we live by the rule of truth. She laughed. Big, theatrical, head tilted back laugh. Like I'd just told her I was joining the circus. Oh, honey, she said, tapping her pen on the table. That's not how healing works. It is now, I replied. She rolled her eyes. Truth is subjective. That's why we have emotional guidelines. I smiled. Let me clarify. Everything you do, say, and spend, I'll mirror. 1-to-1. What applies to me, applies to you. Full parity. If I can't travel solo, neither can you. If I journal for review, so do you. If my messages are subject to transparency, yours are too. Symmetry. The pen stopped tapping. Wait, what? I nodded slowly. If I need permission to buy a steak, you need clearance for that new yoga mat. If I attend empathy training, so do you. If I sleep in exile, you do too. If I'm monitored, so are you. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then scoffed. That's not the energy we're building. No, I agreed. But it's the one we're sharing. I stood, took her half-full journal from the table, flipped to the most recent entry. You wrote yesterday, the sacred feminine resists hierarchy. Great. Let's flatten it. Her voice went sharp. This is petty. No, I said. It's balanced. You said this marriage needs structure. I'm just applying it equally. That's when the ripple started. She brushed it off at first, rolled her eyes, and left the room. But the rules, her rules, started folding back on her like boomerangs. She tried to book a girl's trip to Palm Springs. I slid the account authorization form across the table. Pre-approval required. She opened Instagram and started typing a caption, Weekend with the Soul Sisters. Alignment and wine. I leaned in. Joint social media curation. Let's review the energy. That night, I sat in her side of the bed while she stood in the hallway holding a pillow. Guest room's clean, I said. Until I feel emotionally safe. She stayed up texting for hours. I mirrored it. Next day, she asked, why are you being so invasive? I showed her the laminated copy of Rule Number 8. Full transparency, even in digital spaces. She accused me of being controlling. I simply said, truth isn't control. It's reflection. Then came the journal entries. She refused at first. Said it was performative compliance. I nodded. I understand. That's how I felt at first, too. She cracked a little after that. The next week, she found me on the porch, a glass of whiskey, music low, Greta the air purifier humming beside me. You're twisting everything, she said. No, I said. I'm living in it. With you. By Friday, she asked if we could revisit the structure of our healing. I told her, absolutely. But only together. In truth. She looked smaller then. Not physically. Just less certain. Like the platform she'd built out of buzzwords and loopholes had started sinking beneath her. She went to bed early that night. And I sat there in the guest room, my former exile, now my command post, knowing this wasn't the end. This was the beginning of equilibrium. I started coming home late. No lies. No excuses. Just time unaccounted for. She'd be on the couch, robe loosely tied, glass of Merlot in hand, pretending not to notice when I walked in. I'd kick off my boots, set my keys on the counter, and walk straight past her like she was part of the furniture. She tried to play it cool at first, thumbing through her phone, flipping pages of the same untouched book for 3 nights straight. After a week, she finally asked, where do you go? I took my time hanging up my jacket. Out. With who? Friends. She blinked. I don't know any of your new friends. Neither do I said, pouring myself a drink. Isn't it exciting? She stopped cooking a long time ago. Said it was an act of domestic servitude. I used to cook anyway, steaks, stir-fry, breakfast that made the kids smile even when they were tired. But I stopped. Quietly. One day, she asked where dinner was, and I simply said, I didn't want to force a patriarchal performance on your evening. Then I complimented our neighbor, Michelle. Not in a leering way. Just casual, genuine. New haircut. I said as she watered her roses. Looks great. Brings out your eyes. Amanda was watching from the porch. She didn't say anything right away. The next day, I found her slamming cabinet doors and muttering about how the neighbor was trying too hard. When I made plans to go out for coffee with a buddy from work, female, married, kids, Amanda suddenly had questions. Who is she? I looked her square in the eye. You said I needed to expand emotionally. I'm exploring new connections. You know, like you did in Sedona. The mask cracked. That night, she searched my pockets, checked my phone, asked if we could revisit the boundaries of our emotional structure. I just nodded. Truth is truth. She tried to pull the spiritual high ground again, claimed I was violating the frequency of the home. But her tone was different. Desperate. Less guru, more wife who suddenly didn't like the taste of her own medicine. Then came the unraveling. One night, I found her in the laundry room, phone in hand, face pale. She didn't hear me come in. Her screen was lit up with a string of frantic texts. Why are you ignoring me? You said you weren't seeing anyone else. Call me, please. I recognized the name. One of her healing companions. The same one who had texted her about last night, a few months back. She caught me looking. It's not what it looks like, she said. I raised an eyebrow. What does it look like, Amanda? She hesitated. It's complicated. That's okay, I said, grabbing a towel from the shelf. I'm sure you'll journal your way through it. Later that week, he showed up outside our house. Tall, nervous, holding flowers. I watched from the window as Amanda came out in a panic, whispered something sharp, and pushed him back toward his car. He left. The flowers didn't. She tossed them in the trash, hid them beneath yesterday's kale stems like they might bloom into shame. She spent the next 2 days in a fog. Less affirmations. Fewer rules. No talk of cacao, chakras, or divine polarity. The silence was loud. I came home late again Friday night, took the long way back from a buddy's garage where we'd spent 2 hours just changing brake pads and telling bad stories. She was waiting by the kitchen island. Are you seeing someone? She asked. I poured a glass of water. Took a sip. No, I said. But I could be. And then I walked out to the porch, where Greta the air purifier still hummed faithfully, and the night air was cool against the heat of a woman who thought she could rewrite the game without learning how to lose. Amanda always believed control was best wielded softly, with a smile, a well-timed sigh, a condescending nod masked as enlightenment. But for all her talk about energetic integrity, she never understood the quiet power of consequence. She made the rules. I simply shared them. It started with her friends, those clinking wine glass, Yas Queen brunch philosophers who never asked questions as long as the selfies were radiant. We were hosting one afternoon, small group of them on the patio, Amanda floating around in linen like a spiritual Martha Stewart. She brought up alignment contracts, and one of them, Carrie, raised an eyebrow. What kind of contracts? Amanda laughed. Oh, it's just a thing we do. Keeps the marriage balanced. Radical honesty. I stepped out with a tray of lemon water and said, you should see the binder. Amanda froze. Carrie leaned in. Wait, you actually wrote them down? I smiled, set the tray down, and pulled a folded page from my back pocket. Rule number 4. Husband must journal daily about how his wife makes him feel. Wife will review on Sundays and offer growth notes. Laughter. At first. Nervous, unsure. I kept reading. Rule number 7. Husband may not use sarcasm. It creates energetic dissonance. Now it was silence. Rule number 14. All physical intimacy is suspended until wife's emotional readiness is confirmed via calendar review. Amanda reached for the paper. I let it go, still smiling. I think it's beautiful, I said, how committed we are to structure. Carrie left early. The others followed. 2 days later, I received a message from one of them. Hey, I'm just checking in. Is everything okay? I replied. Always. We live by the rule of truth. But truth has long arms. One morning, Amanda left her work tablet on the dining table. Notifications pinging. Calendar entries blocking off client meetings during her Sedona and Tahoe trips. Receipts saved to the company expense folder. I didn't access anything protected. Just opened what was already open. A week later, I sent an anonymous email. Carefully phrased. Attached screenshots of the travel receipts, calendar overlaps, and a few social media posts tagged with locations that didn't quite match her Outlook schedule. It wasn't revenge. It was symmetry. She'd been using company time and funds for what she called restorative escapes. Her HR department called it misuse of company resources. There was a review. Then a freeze on her corporate card. Then silence. And then came the wife. His wife. The man from the texts. The late-night calls. The one who left flowers that got buried under kale stems. I found her on Facebook. Took 2 minutes. 2 mutual friends. One shared Christmas photo. She looked kind. The kind that gets steamrolled when they trust too deeply. I didn't message from my account. Created a burner. Simple message. I think you deserve to know. These are from your husband's phone. I'm not looking for anything. Just offering truth. Attached were 5 screenshots. Her husband calling Amanda my beautiful medicine. Amanda telling him she'd never felt safe until you. A hotel confirmation forwarded from his work email. No reply. Not at first. Then, days later, a message. Thank you. I needed this. The next time Amanda got a call from him, she didn't answer. She stared at the screen for a long time. Just let it ring. I watched her from across the room. She didn't know what I knew. She just knew something had shifted. Later, she sat down at the kitchen table and said, "Things are getting complicated." I nodded. Truth usually is. Her voice was smaller now. Less fire, more smoke. My job's investigating my travel records. That must be difficult, I said. Maybe journal about it. She didn't laugh. That night, she stayed in the guest room. Not because I told her to. Because she didn't know where else to go. The official email came on a Thursday. HR had launched a formal internal review regarding misuse of company resources and potential code of conduct violations. Amanda stared at her laptop like it had betrayed her. She hadn't left the bedroom all day. I passed by once and saw her sitting on the edge of the mattress, hands gripping the comforter like it was the only solid thing left. By evening, she was on leave. Temporary, she said aloud to no one in particular. They said it's just temporary. I nodded. Everything is. Later, I found her on the couch, staring at her phone, refreshing something over and over. I didn't have to ask. He had gone quiet. The man who called her his escape, who promised her moonlight and tantric enlightenment, radio silence. No texts. No calls. His Instagram profile disappeared. Deleted or blocked. She wouldn't say which. Amanda left 3 voicemails that night. I heard the tremble in her voice through the walls. Not rage. Not blame. Desperation. The kind of sound people make when they realize they were just a chapter in someone else's story. By the weekend, the echo reached her friends. The ones who used to flood her with "you go girl" comments. They weren't responding to brunch invites anymore. A few unfollowed her. One of them posted a passive-aggressive quote that read, "Empowerment without empathy is just ego in a nicer dress." She threw her phone against the floor. Didn't break it. Just cracked the screen enough to look poetic. And then came the pivot. Apologies. Maybe I pushed too hard. I was just trying to save something. I think I went too far with the rules. I never meant to hurt you. I was lost. I miss us. She cooked dinner. Lasagna. My favorite. Told me it was a peace offering. Set the table with candles, folded napkins, even turned on soft jazz like this was a scene from a second chance movie. I sat down. Ate in silence. Halfway through, she reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "I know I made mistakes," she said. I looked at her. Calm. Level. No hate in my voice. No fire in my gut. Just the weight of months under my skin. "You didn't make mistakes," I said. "You made rules." She blinked. "I followed them," I added. "Even when they broke me down to wallpaper. Even when you rewrote marriage into a syllabus only you could pass." Her eyes shimmered. "I didn't mean to, but you did. And then you doubled down. Because you thought I was too soft to push back." She didn't speak. "I didn't create this," I said. "I adapted to it. You taught me how to mirror." I stood, carried my plate to the sink, rinsed it. Behind me, she whispered, "Can we try again?" I dried my hands with a towel. "You're welcome to try anything," I said, folding the towel neatly on the counter. "But don't expect me to play under rules I never got to write." She was still at the table when I left the room, still staring at the candles, still waiting for a version of me that didn't exist anymore. The manila envelope sat on the kitchen counter like a loaded weapon. Amanda walked past it twice that morning, pretending not to see it, like it might disappear if she just radiated enough denial. It didn't. Inside. A clean, quiet petition for divorce. Evidence of infidelity. Documentation of financial misconduct. A full list of her own rules, signed and dated. I left it there on purpose, right where she used to leave her kale smoothies and inspirational quotes. "Your vibe attracts your tribe." Well, Amanda, your rules attracted this. I didn't yell, didn't grandstand. I just filed. And when she found the envelope, she didn't open it right away. She stood there in her robe, staring at it like it was an animal she didn't know how to approach. When she finally did peel back the flap, I saw her hands shake for the first time in months. The timing wasn't random. My financial moves had been made weeks ago, accounts shifted, business interests protected. The house? Technically hers now. I let her have it. Why? Because I had already lived outside of it. The bed, the kitchen, the marriage. I'd been exiled long before I packed a single box. But I wasn't walking away empty-handed. Emma and Jason were coming with me. I consulted Leonard, my lawyer, and built the case slow, like pouring concrete. Her absence, her erratic travel, her own emails saying she needed to disconnect from motherhood to find herself. The school records showing I was the sole emergency contact for months. I didn't have to fight dirty. Truth is a quiet sledgehammer. The judge agreed. Primary custody. Weekends with her, if she stayed clean. The kids didn't cry when I told them. Emma said, "Does this mean we can stop pretending?" Jason just asked, "Can Greta come too?" Even the dog, Maisie, chose my side. That mutt had slept by the front door for weeks while Amanda posted about finding her inner lioness. The moment I picked up my go bag, Maisie sat by it like a furry little witness. Family started reaching out. Amanda's sister texted me, said, "I never bought the whole goddess routine. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner." My own brother called to say he'd seen her posts and thought I was either brainwashed or running the longest con in history. Neither, I said. I just waited long enough to walk out with my dignity. Amanda tried one last play. Showed up the night before I left, all mascara and trembling lips. "We can fix this," she said. I stood by the door, one hand on the leash, the other on the box labeled Emma's swim trophies. "No," I said gently. "We can't. Because the one thing you never protected was the foundation." She whispered, "I didn't think you'd actually leave." I smiled. "You didn't think I'd survive the rules." I opened the door. Maisie trotted out ahead of me, the kids already in the car. Amanda stood there in the doorway of the house she rebranded as a sanctuary, but filled with conditions. It was quiet. No more affirmations. No more curated peace. Just silence and a candle burning out on the table. And I walked away. Not broken. Not bitter. Just done. Viewers, this is the end of the story. We would be very grateful for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and sharing of our stories. See you next time.